Hello everyone, I'm Benjamin Kier. Welcome to the first episode of the Benjamin Kier Show. Today is March 1st. I'm so happy to kick off the month with all of you. We have got a great show today. I don't want to waste any time, so let's jump right in. Normally I'd have a team sports or conventional athlete story for sports news, but not on this episode. There's a lot going on in the world of sports broadcasting. Troy Aikman has left Fox Sports for ESPN, and what the New York Post is reporting is a 5-year, $90 million contract. This is big, because now Fox has to find a replacement for Aikman's role in the booth with Joe Buck. Let's not forget, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman have shared a booth together at Fox since 2002. Almost 20 years. What does Fox do now? There's talks of bringing Greg Olsen or Sean Payton as the replacement. There are even discussions of a trade with NBC for Drew Brees. We've also got Amazon. They're looking to make a big splash, with rumors of signing Al Michaels making the rounds for months already. Rightfully so. Amazon knows that an iconic voice like that of Al Michaels is worth every penny. But after so many years in the game, I'm sure Michaels isn't as concerned with the finances as one would assume. He also wants to be comfortable. And sometimes that aspect of feeling at home, like you're with family, it's something that money can't buy. Speaking of home, Amazon's not the only one going all in on Al Michaels. ESPN is also in the running to bring in Al Michaels, or should I say, bring back. For those of you who may not be familiar, Al Michaels started his broadcasting career journey on Monday Night Football with ESPN. For ESPN to welcome him back after all these years, it would be quite the homecoming. And probably, it would be a storybook ending to the Al Michaels football saga. Now, there are other components that need to be taken into account when talking about these deals. I talked about being comfortable in the case of Al Michaels, but chemistry is also important. It's reported that to go to Amazon, Michaels' preferred partner was Sean McVay. Apparently, McVay and Michaels have a great relationship. They're good friends, they speak to each other regularly. They even have had dinner together quite frequently, according to the New York Post. If Amazon could successfully bring in McVay as a co-host for Michaels, Al Michaels would be more inclined to sign and more motivated to sign with Amazon. Which brings us to our next story. Sean McVay officially stated that he will not be entering the TV or broadcasting market. He will stay committed to being a coach for the Los Angeles Rams. Rumors began to circulate about McVay switching his headsets from calling plays to calling games right before the NFC Championship game. The idea lingered around during the Super Bowl and well after into last week, until February 25th. McVay went public and said that he was committed to coaching the Rams and he would not pursue any TV opportunities. So that closes the door on that broadcaster scenario playing out. A lot of people in the industry seem pretty sure that he'd take a break from coaching to become an analyst. Others said not a chance. I fell somewhere in the middle and honestly believe that he would lean more towards taking a break, especially because the opportunity seems so grand right now. The door will always be open for McVay to go into television. He's incredibly knowledgeable, he can simplify the most complex plays and topics in the game of football, and the entire audience will understand him. His charisma and personality has had TV written all over it, and there's always going to be that chance. The mountain of stress is certainly not as large when comparing an elite NFL coach to a broadcaster. While it does require work and dedication, it's not having the fear of God that you'll lose your job every week, or game planning until 2 a.m. 5 days out of the week. If McVay waits, the number one analyst chairs at ESPN, at CBS, at NBC, and at Fox, and at Amazon may have been filled. It's Sean McVay. There will always be a 7-figure payday out there for him. But this looked like not necessarily the right time, but it did seem like the best time if he truly desired $15 million per year and weekends off. Or what we assumed was $15 million per year. New information has just come out from Andrew Marchant, who says McVay was supposed to meet with Amazon next week. Amazon was willing to shell out a max deal of 5 years and $100 million. Let that sink in. So what that says to me is that McVay really loves coaching. But McVay has made his decision, and I greatly respect him for that. He's an incredible competitor and an even better coach. He's truly chasing greatness, and I wish him the best of luck. But when he does enter TV, because I personally believe that one day he will, I'd be honored to share a booth or a studio with McVay. Before we move forward with the UFC and futbol, or soccer depending on where you're from, I want to address baseball. The owners are in talks with the MLB Players Association to sort out and finalize a collective bargaining agreement. It's a deal that touches upon player benefits, revenue shares, percentages, minimum salaries upon entering the league, all incredibly important aspects that should be addressed for the well-being of the players. Historically, in the power of sports, we've seen that the owners hold the power, or the managers are the ones in charge. But we've seen a definite shift. Due to basketball superstars in the NBA, MLB players, and even in the NFL, we're seeing a situation where players have a lot of power as well, especially when negotiating. More than ever so, they've got a seat at the table. This MLB lockout is a culmination of players having earned their spot at the table and recognizing it. In a lot of ways, it's overdue. Players have the right to demand these benefits and raises. But now, as fans, we're seeing a situation where we could miss opening day. Games could be canceled. The MLB is currently threatening to cancel a month's worth of games if their conditions are not agreed upon. I'm making a plea to Major League Baseball. Do not take your fans for granted. In an age where your target demographic of fans has things quickly at their fingertips and wants entertainment instantaneously, you have proven to be anything but. Other sports are fast-paced. The games are becoming funner. Their seasons are exciting and relatively short. There's a lot of offense, which is what drives viewership in the 21st century. There's not style points, but athletes are having fun, and they're more engaged than ever, and they're more engaging than ever in other sports. The league gives them the opportunity to do so. You normally play a 182-game season, and you hit a record low for viewership in 2021. Baseball is dying, and right now, you're actively killing it. I won't even address the duration of the games or the attendance, because that's obvious surface-level stuff. Truthfully, I haven't said anything right now that hasn't already been said before me. But consider this. You start in the spring, you last through the summer, and you drag into October. In that time, we know that you're competing with the NBA playoffs, the NBA finals, hockey, the Stanley Cup. Then there's the NFL Combine, NFL free agency, and NFL training camp. While those last three aren't taking airtime or ratings, it is taking headlines and tweets and Instagram posts and TikToks, which is starting to matter more and more in this bite-sized information age. And this year, more than ever, you guys are really rolling the dice. Futbol, the international game that we recognize as soccer, it's coming. The MLS has worked tirelessly towards becoming a major sport in North America, and they're growing fast. It started with solid core teams and competitive scheduling. Now they've got high-profile expansion teams in big market cities in the mix for some very exciting players and acquisitions, both domestic and international. They are coming for baseball, and it seems like they'll be starting every year in the years to come in spring, and they'll ramp up in the months afterwards. Hey baseball, that's your cue. That's your time slot. Those are your ratings. And they're coming for those primetime TV deals like you're an afterthought. And as an added bonus, in case you guys didn't hear, the United States Football League is back in the mix. Don't assume your fans will wait for your season to begin or wait for you to figure it out. Fans will switch the channel and they will tune into something else. UFC Vegas 49, Bobby Green versus Islam Makhachev. The big story, Islam had to go through UFC veteran Bobby Green, who just took this fight on short notice with just 14 days since his last bout. Bobby was a heavy underdog, and understandably so. But once you step into that octagon, odds don't matter. Your performance does. That is my personal opinion. For Makhachev, this fight was really important. He wins this one, and he's either got the title shot next against Oliveira, or he's next in line. Saturday night, Makhachev goes into the UFC Apex Center in Vegas, but not before Bobby Green's very energetic walkout to hit him up. Very cool stuff. Green starts throwing off his hat. The jacket goes into the Apex audience. Finishes it off with a somersault into the octagon. But then it gets really serious. Same feeling as those Khabib walkouts. You can cut the tension with a knife. It's business. It's serious. It's go time. Islam looks locked in. Bruce Buffer gets everybody excited with his iconic introductions. It's time to rock and roll. The bell rings. Fight starts. Makhachev immediately went for a high kick off the bat. Green did a good job of more or less checking it, and then they exchanged a couple strikes, some hits. And as everyone expected, Makhachev took it to the ground in the first round. Mounted Green, who then shelled up and wasn't making an effort to strike back. Herb Dean called that a fight. First round TKO for Makhachev. So the question now becomes, is Makhachev next in line for that title shot? Is it Gaethje? What's going to happen here? And here's what I was texting one of my good friends in the industry, Ariel Helwani, about, that I haven't heard too many people say. Islam is looking like a really incredible prospect right now in the UFC. What happens if he goes against Oliveira next? He beats Oliveira, and then Conor McGregor is healed up and waiting. It's Conor McGregor's revenge fight, going after the Dagestani, as he'd probably say. What a pay-per-view and phenomenal fight that would be. I'm very excited to see where that heads. Before we wrap up, I want to get into some Major League Soccer news. Very exciting opening weekend. I want to focus on two matches that took place on Saturday. Carlos Vela from LA. A lot of anticipation that this could be his last season with LA. He didn't show a lot of emotion prior to the game. He seemed very serious, very focused, and rightly so. I mean, the narrative going around was pretty ominous. Ultimately, his mentality worked out for him because he scored 3 goals, celebrated the hat trick very enthusiastically. He proved that he still very much belongs in the MLS and playing on a soccer field anywhere. I want to move over now to Inter Miami CF. They kick off their season on Saturday against Chicago Fire, who is a team who also struggled. They opened the season with their 4th coach in 5 seasons. The narrative here is 2 teams battling it out on opening weekend and looking to find their footing. Let's head down to the pitch with Inter Miami CF's starting lineup. So, of course, we had Phil Neville, Inter Miami CF head coach, entering his 2nd season. This time they were going to run a little bit different of a formation than they did last year, and I think this really worked in their favor, and I think this could be the key heading on later in the season. We see a formation of 5-3-2. We have Higuain in that 10 spot, Campana, who was new to the team, on the right side, Gregor, who was managing that midfield, meant to be a flexible player who could facilitate things, make sure that nothing gets too deep into the defense, and we also had a key here, Diop, our new goalie. So there's a standout that puts him in a position to win now, one that puts them in a position to win later on in the season, and one who I believe is the future of this club. For the future of this club, I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. Noah Allen, the 17-year-old phenom, played with such intensity, did not shy away from the moment, played with incredible heart. I think so many people are so proud of him and excited for his future with the club. In terms of this season and who can help us win right now, I believe the goalkeeper, Clement Diop, was absolutely phenomenal. Some saves there that if he continues that, and those were consistent and not just one-night magic, I don't see why there's any reason why we're not talking about him as one of the best goalkeepers in the MLS, if not the best. Last but not least, Leonardo Campana, who gives him a chance to win as the season progresses. They brought him in with the intention of making him a playmaker. There's only 2 people up front. Him and Higuain, I believe, will figure out who that playmaker is and how to properly facilitate the ball. But they had some great looks, a lot of opportunities that were heartbreaking down the stretch because they didn't capitalize on it. But those happen in any other game later on in the season, and I do believe that you see a couple goals as a result of it. So, very exciting. The match did end in a draw. That'll earn Inter Miami CF 1 point on the rankings for opening weekend. So that's everything in the rundown for this week. There's a lot of sports news out there that I didn't get to talk about, but I believe that I could provide some insight into these stories, and I thought we should focus on them. Let me know what you want to talk about next week. Please make sure to like and subscribe on the channel. You can also subscribe to the Substack, which is an email that will be sent to you every time we have a show. That way you don't miss it. Make sure to subscribe. Link in the description. I also want to give a quick shout out to a team that I didn't get to talk about, the Miami Heat. I am a Miami native, and I am no stranger to the incredible success that the Miami Heat are having this season. I personally believe that they can make a great run down the stretch, especially in the playoffs. I believe they can go pretty deep. Finals, hopefully. We'll see what happens. But in any case, best of luck to them. Thank you so much for joining in on today's show. Once again, my name is Benjamin Cure, and you're watching The Benjamin Cure Show. See you next week.